I want you to think about the worst Monday morning of your life. Maybe it was a difficult meeting, a hard conversation, a project that went wrong. Now, imagine walking into work on a completely normal Monday, coffee in hand, bag on your shoulder. No warning, no sign, nothing. And before you even reach your desk, your manager calls you into a room. HR is sitting there, and in less than 4 minutes, you are handed a letter. Told your position has been made redundant. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Please leave your access card at reception. Now imagine that just 9 days earlier, you had reported that same manager to HR for conduct you believed was inappropriate. And now, 9 days later, you are the one being removed. Today's story is about a woman who that happened to, who walked out of that building with a small box of belongings, and who spent the next 6 weeks carefully building a case that changed everything. Welcome back to Quietly Destroyed. This story is unforgettable. Her name on Reddit is 90 Day Notice. I'll call her Nadia. Nadia was 31 years old. She had worked at a logistics and supply chain company in Birmingham for 6 years. Started as a coordinator, worked her way up to senior operations manager. She managed a team of 11 people, oversaw contracts worth millions of pounds annually. She was, by every measurable standard, excellent at her job. Her team respected her, her clients trusted her, her performance reviews were consistently strong. And then, 18 months before this story begins, the company hired a new director, a man named Richard. Richard had come from a much larger corporate environment, wore expensive suits, spoke in corporate buzzwords, reorganized departments that did not need reorganizing. And from the very first week, he and Nadia struggled to work well together. Not because Nadia was difficult, but because their approaches to leadership were completely different. The first thing Richard did was present a contract Nadia had worked on extensively as part of his own presentation to senior leadership. Nadia raised it privately, professionally, was told to let it go. So she did. The second thing Richard did was remove Nadia from leadership meetings she had previously attended, without explanation. Again, she raised concerns professionally. Again, she was told it was a restructuring decision. And again, she let it go. The third incident was the one she decided needed to be formally documented. It was a Thursday afternoon. Nadia was leading a meeting with her team, the people she managed daily, when Richard walked in unexpectedly, interrupted the discussion, and in front of everyone, criticized Nadia's handling of the current project. Said her approach was behind the times, suggested the department needed more adaptable leadership, in front of her entire team. The room went silent. Several employees looked down at the table. Nadia looked at Richard and said, very calmly, "Thank you, Richard. I'll follow up with you after the meeting." Richard left. Nadia finished the meeting, professionally, completely. And then she went back to her desk, opened a document, and began writing everything down. That evening, she drafted a formal HR complaint, not an emotional email, a structured, professional report. She included the date, the time, the exact wording used, the names of the witnesses present in the meeting. She referenced the company's own dignity at work policy, including the sections she believed had been violated. She also attached records of previous concerns she had raised internally. Then she submitted it to HR the following Monday morning, 9:07 a.m. She had a read receipt. 9 days later, at 9:03 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, she was called into a room. HR was there, and in less than 4 minutes, she was informed her role was being made redundant, effective immediately. Please leave your access card at reception. She walked out of that building holding a small box. Her team watched from the window. Some of them were visibly emotional. Nadia did not cry. She placed the box in her car, sat in the driver's seat, took a long breath, and then made a phone call. Not to a friend, not to family, to an employment lawyer. The lawyer listened carefully, and within the first 10 minutes said something Nadia would never forget. She explained that the timing of the dismissal, coming so soon after a formal workplace complaint, could potentially support a victimization claim under UK employment law. Victimization occurs when an employee experiences negative treatment after raising a protected concern. And in serious cases, compensation awarded by tribunals can be substantial. Over the next 2 weeks, Nadia and her lawyer began organizing evidence. And Nadia had something most employees do not: documentation. Careful. Detailed. Consistent. Every project she had contributed to, she had email records. Every leadership meeting she had been removed from, she had calendar records. Every informal concern she had raised internally, she had emails and responses. And, most importantly, the formal HR complaint, submitted Monday, read receipt confirmed. And the redundancy notice, issued 9 days later. Her lawyer described it as an unusually well-documented case. But Nadia did not stop there. She took 3 additional steps, carefully, professionally, legally. First, she contacted ACAS, the Advisory, Conciliation, and Arbitration Service, and filed an early conciliation request, the required first step before an employment tribunal. Second, she contacted members of her former team, professionally, using personal email. She explained she was pursuing a legal claim and politely asked whether anyone would be willing to provide a witness statement about the meeting. 9 people agreed. Third, she informed several major clients that she was no longer managing their accounts, not to damage the business, but because those clients worked directly with her and required updated contact arrangements. 2 clients requested urgent clarification from company leadership. A third delayed an upcoming contract renewal while reviewing the situation. Nadia completed all 3 steps within 14 days of leaving the company, quietly, professionally, without public accusations, without social media posts, without creating a scene. Just records, phone calls, legal process. The company's response came sooner than expected. 3 weeks after Nadia filed her conciliation request, the company's legal team reached out. They wanted to settle privately. Nadia reviewed the offer with her lawyer, and after thinking carefully, she declined. Not because the offer was unreasonable, but because she wanted certain conditions included. She submitted a counter-proposal, 3 conditions. Condition 1, a revised financial settlement. Condition 2, a formal written apology acknowledging procedural issues in the handling of her dismissal. And Condition 3, that Richard's conduct during the meeting incident be formally documented internally. Not a public statement, not termination, just an official record that the conduct had been reviewed. The company agreed to all 3 conditions within 1 week. Nadia received her settlement, received her written apology, and several months later, Richard was moved into a reduced role, no longer overseeing teams, no longer managing staff directly. At the end of her Reddit post, Nadia wrote something that stayed with me. She said, "When I walked out of that building, I thought I had lost everything. But what I actually had were years of records, emails, documentation, proof that I had handled things properly." And then she added, "The moment they dismissed me, the timeline mattered more than anything else." I think that is why this story resonates with so many people. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do in a difficult situation is stay calm, stay professional, and keep records. That is the end of episode 4 here on Quietly Destroyed. If this story resonated with you, if you have ever experienced an unfair situation at work, leave a comment below. And if you are currently dealing with a workplace issue that feels wrong, document everything: dates, times, witnesses, conversations, emails, because clear records matter. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Next week, we have a story about a woman whose close friend used her business idea to launch a successful company. For 18 months, she stayed silent. Then one conversation changed everything. You will not want to miss it. I'll see you then. Stay patient, stay professional, and remember, the truth has a way of catching up eventually.